The following podcast is provided by Athira Pharma and Answers for Elders Radio.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio Network in this final segment of this 4-part segment hour. And Amy Schenk, you have been such a delight to have on the program today. I could sit and talk to you for hours and hours and hours. So I think you and I have so much in common. It's amazing. And I am really interested, obviously came from a caregiver background. I took care of my mom the last 6 years of her life. And of course, immersed myself in this industry ever since. She passed away in 2011. But what I know is I talk to families every day and I hear the anxiety, the stress. I've lived it. I remember the feeling of having the weight of the world on my shoulders. I remember one day standing in my kitchen, and I mean, this is like, to this day, I could feel this and I could feel the weight. And the one thing I was saying to myself is, I'm all alone in this. Mm-hmm. You know, and yet to feel like you have the weight of the world and this person's life in your hands, literally, is overwhelming. And so I think it comes from that place of duty, of nobility, of, like you talked about the love. If love could cure this, we wouldn't have jobs. The point of the matter being is there's that family caregiver that's out there that has been through and is going through that hard time. And so anyway, Amy, I'm really glad we're going to talk about this segment, because I think this is almost more important than treating the disease itself. It's the one thing that's ignored oftentimes. And so, Amy, thank you for, saying we need to talk about this. So.
We absolutely do. And that's what I spent the last, I'm still doing it. And I spent the last 5 years of my career doing it. And one of the things that is so exciting is there are new and exciting treatments coming down the pike. We know that. I have great faith, as you do, that this disease is going to be impacted significantly in my lifetime. And until then, we have to focus on caregivers and all of the things you said, because it's very real to you because you did it. Mm-hmm. One of the things I always think of is if you are still working and your employer has an employee assistance program, call the number. The other is that one of the things that I know happens in families, I happen to be an only child. So I knew that when my parents became ill, I would be the one managing their care. And so while that can be I know I had the whole responsibility, I also had all the decisions. And as someone who likes to be in control, I was able to manage that. Well, my husband's family, he's one of 8 children. So they're always we've got both ends of the spectrum here. So I think the one thing that is said so often, and people are very hesitant to do this, is to reach out to other people. We all believe that we should be able to do this ourselves. Of course, we can handle it. We're Superman, we're Superwoman. We can handle this alone. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're wrong. Everyone needs help on this journey. If you don't get help, the consequences aren't going to be positive. And statistics back that up. So a couple things to do. How many times do you have people who will say, if you need me, just give me a call? Well, that's nice. However, you have a minute to call. So if they say, right?
I remember that.
Keeping your sense of humor is also one of my best approaches, because sometimes you'll be in a situation that is just so ridiculous. If you don't laugh, you'll cry, and laughing's better. Mm-hmm. So if someone does say, oh, Suzanne, how can I help? What you want to do, and one of the first things you want to do, is write down all of the things that you may need help with at home. Not that you think you should need help with, but that you do need help with. So do you need help raking the leaves? Do you need somebody to come in and change those light bulbs? Because who thought having that 2-story ceiling was a great idea? It's beautiful, but I can't change my light bulbs. Do you need somebody to pick a few things up at the grocery store? Correct. Do you need somebody to sit with your loved one for an hour so that you can get your hair cut? Do you need someone? So think of all of the things that are now on your plate that never were before, because roles change. So whether it's a spouse, partner, a child, grandchild, things change. So just keep a list. So pretend that your fairy godmother is going to come with her magic wand and she's going to make your list disappear. Make a list. Because the other thing that I know is true is that people who want to help you will help you. We feel helpless too. I think if we've ever had a friend who's gone through this, we feel helpless too. So instead of saying, Suzanne, call me when you say, what can I, if I can help, I could say, what would be great? If we could talk every Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. because my husband's going to be sleeping there, and we can have a cup of coffee and I can have a normal conversation.
It's so interesting you're saying that, because I even wrote about this in my book. I had these amazing circle of girlfriends. And I realized the thing that I was missing is, they would take me out to lunch every once in a while and I would whine and complain and, about my life. It's totally, but one of the things that I realized in my process is, when people say, how can we help? Well, there isn't anything to do really. It's like, it's mom calling, it's having to, pick up her laundry. It's having to do all of these things that I had to do. But all of a sudden it dawned on me. I was laying in bed one morning and I thought, you know what? So I sent an email to all of my girlfriends and I said, you've all asked me if you can help. And this is what I need from you. I need joy. And I said, if you know me better than anybody else. So here's the thing. I'm giving you carte blanche to say, Suzanne needs joy. How can I bring it? And that's what they did. And they they planned lunches. We went out on boat trips. We did. But here was the best part. The best part is my mother, even though she had advanced vascular dementia, she still knew how to push my buttons. She still knew how to, there were times that she would say something and I would go off, I knew I would react. And so I learned to take care of myself. And what I would do is I'd say, Mom, I need to go take a walk. I'll be back. Right. I would go take a walk. And I walk around the block and I would call a girlfriend and I would go on and on about how, and we would laugh. When you were talking about that, I thought, girlfriends or friends that we have that we can laugh with, that we can have joy with is everything. And I'm so when you're saying this, it's like, absolutely.
And it is. I mean, some people, what I think sometimes our male friends may like to do things. So do things, shovel the snow, those are wonderful things. But, many times our women friends may not have walked in our shoes, but I love bring me joy. Make me laugh is another thing I would call people. Just make me laugh. Talk about anything.
Yes.
But Alzheimer's or vascular dementia. Just tell me anything. And I think, what you said is one of the things I want people to give themselves permission to do, which is, Mom, I need a timeout, because that's what you needed. We need to put ourselves in timeout, and there's no shame in that. When you feel it, we all have that when you're like, if I have to do fill in the blank one more time, I'm going to scream.
If I have to just walk around the block, get myself away from the situation, that will make a huge difference. And I think a lot of times we get so wrapped up in the moment of the overwhelming tasks that we have in hand and the intensity between you and if it's a parent. I don't care if they have advanced dementia, they still know how to push your buttons, because that's the neural program that you have between that parent. And no matter what you say, you'll still be their child. I mean, this still
goes on. You're their child.
Never changes. So understanding that piece is really, really vital in taking care of yourself. And I think a lot of times people forget that.
Well, and we don't think we're worth it, or we have so much to do with mom or with our husband, and those things are true. And I also say, you know what? There are things, who is creating these high standards of perfection we have to live up to? Like, who are the people who tells you who should? Well, we tell ourselves that. Well, stop it. It's not helpful.
True.
And I think what you can do, we talked about the loneliness, and the loneliness is real. So having that connection, and many times families say to me, you don't understand, Amy, all of our friends abandoned us. We're here in Florida. Our kids are far away. They're busy. We don't want to bother them. All of those things are true. And I think support groups, and the term support group, sometimes, again, it has a negative connotation. So we call our group the Caregiver Connection, which is truly what we want it to be. A safe space to share ideas, to talk, to cry, to laugh. Laughing is great. And also to connect. So having that connection.
And there's some groups, like you say, that get together, and anytime caregiving is mentioned, they have to put a nickel in the jar, because it's about escaping. It's about talking about other things. It's about getting your head out of this role. And that's a good piece of it too, if that's something you want to do. And I think the options is seek out community. Find people that have been where you've been. I know how many people I talk to all of the time, especially my classmates, and that I went through, because I went through it with my mom, and those things happen. And certainly there's a great, wonderful community out there. And Amy, I'm so glad you've been on the show with us today, and I hope you'll come back very soon. I could, like I said, I could talk to you for hours and hours.
I feel the same way. So thank you so much for having me. It's now I have like a long distance girlfriend. So from
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I appreciate you having me. I think there are a lot of other topics we can talk about, because this isn't one of those things that you can address in a few minutes. Be kind to yourself. My advice to caregivers is that self-care is not self-indulgence.
Yes.
Self-care is, quite frankly, mission critical. And don't let anybody else tell you how you do your self-care. You will find your thing. What is the thing? And Suzanne, it's the bring me joy. Find something that can bring you joy, whatever that is, or someone who offers to bring it. Joy and laughter can't cure everything, but they sure can help.
They sure can. And for those of you that are interested in clinical breakthroughs and learning more about clinical trials with Athira Pharma, go to www.liftadtrial. That's Lift AD Trial. I know they always say AD and I always say ad, but liftadtrial.com. And also take care of you. And most importantly, as we all say, thank you so much, Amy, and to all of you. Thank you again for listening with us for this hour. Be good to yourself. We at Answers for Elders thank you for listening. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.